Good evening and welcome to day 14 of the 26 days challenge, story a day, for the 2.6 challenge for the Stroke Association. So halfway through, you've had 13 stories. So to mark the halfway point, the start of the second half, I'm bringing you today a brand new story. All the other stories that you hear me tell, they're stories that are out there, and I pick them up like other storytellers and I reimagine them. But this story I created, and I'm dedicating it to two people. Firstly, to Hilary, who asked the question that the story answers, and I'm also dedicating it to Grant, and he will know why. So, there was once a beautiful black Labrador, and he lived with his human in a quiet little close where there were some other humans, but not too many. And some of those other humans, well, they were also his humans. Well, he thought they were, because he would take them out for walks occasionally. Well, he knew they probably wouldn't go without him. And even if he really didn't want to go because he was nice and cozy and comfortable, he would take pity on them and take them for walks into the paths and the fields and the footpaths all around where they all lived. Well, he was a very happy dog. He was very much content with his whole life, with his human, and if there was anything that worried slightly in his mind, it was something that his mum had said to him when he was a tiny little puppy. And she'd said to him that every dog has a true secret name. And one day he would find his secret name. Well, he knew he had lots of names because his human had told him once that he was something called Pedigree, and that meant he had an awful lot of names. But he also had a name that his human called him every day and the other humans called him. He knew because they would look at him in a certain way when they made this sound, and he would always try to please them. He liked to please people, so he would always smile and wag his tail when they made that particular sound. But he knew he hadn't yet found his secret name. So every time he went for a walk, he tried to see if he could find out a little bit more about this. Where would this name come from? How would he know if it was his? So every time he met other dogs on his walk, having greeted them in the time-honoured and traditional manner, of course, he would ask them, what do they know about dogs' secret names? Have they got theirs? Do they know how he could get it? Well, he didn't get very far that way. I mean, mostly these other dogs were silly little things with fluffy tails that they liked to chase around in circles. And the big dogs, well, they didn't really pay attention to him either. They were too busy kind of squaring off to other big dogs. So if he saw a cat, he also tried to ask, because he noticed that these cat creatures had a particular look about them, as if they actually knew everything. So whenever he saw one, he would politely try to inquire, and they would just give him a look and cast an eye over their shoulder as they nonchalantly strolled off. So he would run after them to see if they could answer the question. But sadly, he didn't get anywhere that way. He also tried those strange little creatures with the fluffy tails that lived up in trees. And he would try asking them his same question, but they would just run away up the tree and sit up there chattering. So he'd run after them too and stand at the bottom of the tree and look at them to see if they would help him. But they didn't make any sense. He couldn't understand the noises they were making. So all in all, he was just a little bit sad that he didn't know what his true secret name was. One day, the human next door went with him on a walk to the fields, and as they were walking around the fields, he saw a black rabbit. I bet the black rabbit knows, he thought. So he chased after the rabbit as fast as his forelegs could carry him, but the rabbit was faster, and he ran and he ran, and this seemed to be really a very long run, and it was a very nice run. He was really enjoying it. And slowly he noticed that his feet weren't on the ground anymore, and he seemed to be going up in the sky. Well, this was all a bit strange. What's this all about, he thought. But the rabbit was still ahead of him, so he kept going after the rabbit because maybe he knew the answer. And suddenly he realised that he couldn't see the rabbit anymore because the sky had gone black and the rabbit was black and he was black, and so he actually couldn't see himself. It was a bit scary. He stopped, had a little look around and thought, well, I don't quite know what to do now. It's very black up here and I don't know how to get back down. And then he realised that it wasn't quite as black as he had thought it was. He could see shining lights in the sky. And he thought, these are the stars. And he kept moving slowly and slowly forward until he came to a very big, bright star. And he thought, I wonder if this star can help me. So he said to the star, excuse me, sir, what's your name? And the star replied, my name is Sirius. Well, thought our Black Lab, I recognise that name. Sirius is the dog star, and I'm a dog. And he's told me his name, so maybe he can tell me my name. So, well, I'm awfully sorry to bother you, Sir Sirius, but I wonder, could you perhaps tell me my name, my true name, my secret name? And Sirius leant forward and whispered in his ear, and as he leaned, lots of little shimmering, glimmering particles of stardust fell onto our Black Lab's coat. Sirius leaned back, and our boy said to him, thank you. Now I know my true and secret name. Don't suppose you could tell me how to get back down there, could you? Because I don't really know the way. And all of a sudden it was like he was slipping between worlds somehow, and in an instant he was back in the long grass where he'd been chasing the black rabbit earlier, and he could hear the human calling and calling, and so he turned and he ran back to the human, and she bent down and made such a fuss of him that he gave her a great big lick on her nose to say thank you, and they went back to his house, to his personal human. And he went in when the door opened, and his human gave him a chew, so he took that to his bed, and he could hear the two of them talking, and he heard them say something about a black rabbit, and he curled up and he went to sleep, and having little twitching moments as he relived his adventure and learning his true secret name. And his master, his human, looked down at him and thought, wow, how did you get such a bright, shiny coat? It must be that new shampoo we're using. Must buy that again. So there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this story, my very first that I've created. And I will see you tomorrow for another story. Take care now. Bye bye.